The Galactic Combat Academy's training hall echoed with the sound of clashing energy weapons and the heavy breathing of cadets from dozens of species. In the center of the vast chamber, Instructor Zexthon towered over his latest victim, a small, human female who barely reached his chest plates. "Pathetic," the Korthak warrior sneered, his four arms crossed in disdain. His species had dominated the galaxy's military academies for centuries, their natural advantages in strength, speed, and limb count making them nearly unbeatable in close combat. Humans should stick to their engineering decks and leave fighting. To the real warriors. Cadet Sarah Chen wiped blood from her split lip and stood up slowly. Around them, other cadets had stopped their own training to watch. Whispers in a dozen alien languages filled the air, most expressing pity for the human who had foolishly challenged the Academy's most ruthless instructor. "Again," Sarah said quietly, raising her training weapon. Zexathon's mandibles clicked, in what passed for laughter among his kind. "Your species fascinates me, little one. Too stupid to recognize when you're outmatched, too weak to do anything about it." His golden eyes gleamed with cruel amusement. "Very well. One more demonstration of human inadequacy." The Korthak moved with liquid grace, his four arms weaving, a complex pattern with his plasma staffs. Each strike came from a different angle, a deadly dance that had defeated champions from every corner of the galaxy. Sarah barely managed to deflect two of the attacks before the third sent her tumbling across the mat. "You see?" Zexthon addressed the gathered crowd. "Humans are soft, slow, limited by their primitive bilateral anatomy." He gestured dismissively at Sarah as she struggled to her feet. "They pretend to be warriors, but they are merely clever apes with delusions of grandeur." Sarah spat blood onto the training mat and looked up at her tormentor. Something had changed in her eyes. A coldness that made several alien observers take an unconscious step backward. "You're right," she said, her voice eerily calm. "We are different." She dropped into a fighting stance that none of the alien spectators recognized. Feet planted wide, center of gravity impossibly low, both hands gripping her weapon in a way that seemed awkward and inefficient to their eyes. Zexthon charged forward, confident in his victory. His species had evolved as apex predators on a high-gravity world, developing four arms to better hunt their prey. Every movement was calculated, every strike precisely aimed at vital points. He never saw the counterattack coming. Sarah's training weapon moved in a tight arc, not toward any of Zexthon's four arms or his armored torso, but straight up into his jaw with devastating precision. The impact lifted the 7-foot alien completely off his feet, but Sarah wasn't finished. As Zexthon fell, she pivoted with inhuman fluidity, her weapon tracing a second arc that caught him in the same spot before he hit the ground. The sickening crack of breaking bone echoed through the suddenly silent training hall. The Korthak instructor crashed to the mat, his jaw hanging at an impossible angle, golden blood streaming from his mouth. He tried to speak, but only managed a wet gurgling sound. "You want to know the difference between humans and every other species in this academy?" Sarah asked, standing over the fallen alien. Her voice carried clearly in the deathly quiet chamber. "You all evolved to be the apex predators of your worlds, stronger, faster, better armed than everything else in your food chains," she began, to circle the injured instructor, her weapon held casually but ready. "Humans, we were prey animals. For millions of years, everything on our planet was bigger, stronger, and faster than us. We survived by being smarter, by being more adaptable, by being absolutely relentlessly vicious when cornered." A medical team rushed onto the mat, but Sarah continued speaking as they worked to stabilize Zexthon's shattered jaw. "You have 4 arms. Congratulations. That's 4 different attack vectors I need to track, but also 4 limbs you have to coordinate perfectly. Me? I only have 2 arms, But I've spent my entire life learning to make every movement count. She turned to address the stunned crowd of alien cadets. Your species developed natural weapons, claws, fangs, venom, extra limbs. We developed something better. The ability to turn anything into a weapon and the creativity to use it in ways you'd never expect. The medical team was carefully loading Zexathon onto a stretcher, his jaw now secured with a stabilization device. As they prepared to carry him away, Sarah knelt down beside him. "Don't worry, instructor," she said with mock sweetness. "The human medical officers will fix you right up. We're very good at reconstructive surgery, lots of practice from all those millennia of being apex predators' chew toys." As the medical team departed with their patient, Academy Director Tholvan approached Sarah. The elderly Zilanian's tentacles writhed with what humans had learned to recognize as approval. "Cadet Chen," he said in his melodious voice, "that was educational. Though I believe you may have made your point with the first strike." Sarah shrugged, finally allowing herself a small smile. "Maybe, but humans have another trait that served us well during our evolution. We're vindictive as hell when someone tries to humiliate us." Word of the incident spread throughout the academy, within hours. By the next day, it had reached every military installation in the sector. The story grew with each telling. The small human female who had not only defeated a Korthak instructor, but had done so with such clinical precision that she'd reconstructed his jaw while breaking it. Applications from human cadets tripled over the following month. When instructor Zexathon returned to duty 6 weeks later, his jaw reinforced with titanium implants, he found his training methods had undergone a significant revision. No longer did he mock the physical limitations of other species. Instead, he focused on their unique strengths, a lesson he'd learned the hard way from a deceptively small human who had reminded the entire galaxy why her species had clawed its way from prey to predator through sheer, bloody-minded determination. And whenever new cadets asked about the metal gleaming in his jaw, he would simply say, "Never underestimate a human. They've turned being underestimated into an art form."